I'm Lamat Trapa, and today I am delighted to introduce to you a Canadian Qigong and Tai Chi master, George Picard. Thank you, George, for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Thanks you for having me. It's a pleasure and a bit of an honor. I'm glad I could be here, and
Fantastic.
we're going to have a great discussion.
Yes, as always. And you are also the author of a couple of books
Hmm.
on Qigong and on spiritual exploration or spiritual development.
Hmm.
Um, I did take a look at some of the copy of your book of quotes.
Hmm.
But before we go into the book of quotes, perhaps you can give us a little bit of a background story, how you have been exploring the internal arts and energy arts.
I'm a seventh dan in Okinawan Goju Karate, so I also did some time with Shotokan. That started back when I was 17. And I got the snot kicked out of me one time going home. I walked a date home and I'm walking down high school. I got sucker punched. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea until you get out there in that stress. You don't know what to do. You just scream. Not long after that, I started karate up in Sudbury, Ontario, with Sensei Bob Dalglish. A lot of people know him. A lot of people don't. I guess people who know him are more my age. And it kept on, and I traveled. I kept on doing it. And went to Goju and stayed in Goju. Went to Shorin-ryu for a while. I went to Shotokan. Then I went back to Goju, and that's how it goes. I was training back in the '90s, taking Kobudo, which is weapons, and karate, which is extending my experience, but I also took in Tai Chi and Qigong, which was a word I knew, but relatively unknown. I really liked it. I really felt some things. So then later on, I decided to open school in '99, St. Catharines, Ontario, which I'm sure you don't know where it is, but it's near Niagara Falls. You may know where that is.
Yes, I do.
Along, I trained and I wanted to learn Tai Chi Fan, which was just a fascination with me. And teacher, Grandmaster Wang Helen Wu, taught it, but she always taught on the nights that my black belt classes were. So I had to let it go. When I opened my school, I saw a flyer for a Saturday afternoon Tai Chi fan with her. So I went and I met her and Grandmaster Simon Hugh, her husband. And I asked
What
if I
was
would.
so interesting about the fan that caused your fascination?
They use the fans in Japan as a weapon, and they use the fan as a weapon in China. They would wear it on their sash. Usually, the upper class would have that as a weapon because you could pull it out and do many things with it. So it fascinated me.
Cooling yourself down.
There's that too. And my teacher, Grandmaster Hao Wu, Sifu, her mother was an expert in fan and Tai Chi sword worldwide. The whole family lineage, all the way, was amazing. Anyway, I wanted to learn that. She took me as a private student, and for 5 years, I went on Friday mornings, 6 o'clock in the morning, I have to leave to drive the other side of Toronto, which was sometimes an hour and a half away. And we
Wow.
do it. I brought it to my school to do different seminars and different things. Her and Sifu Simon. Sifu Simon is amazing, just an amazing practitioner. He also learned from Helen's grandfather, Grandmaster Wang Ziping, and you can
Hmm.
actually Google him. He came up once a month for 2 hours, and for 18 years, just a very small group, myself and some of my senior students, and do a class. It was amazing. So anyway, that's how I got started. And then from fan, it just went into other different Tai Chi, sword, 32 form, 42 form, double sword, long fan form, double fan form, and then all kinds of Tai Chi. You may not know this, but my teacher's mother was instrumental in developing the 24 form. Yeah, but she was a woman, so she didn't get much recognition for it. But she
Hmm.
developed her own system called the link form. And these a lot of the 24s in there, plus a whole bunch of other stuff that people don't usually see. Linking
Like,
the different styles together.
so it's like a Tai Chi version of MMA.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though. It's the different forms I do. There's postures in each one that I don't see anywhere else. So it's kind of cool.
Obviously, if you are a Tai Chi aficionado and you get excited about learning another form, that would make sense to do all of this collection of forms. But if you are a pragmatic person, what would be the pragmatic purpose of learning those forms? What do they do for you?
Tai Chi is Tai Chi. They have different Chen style, which I do. This is one of my primary styles. That's more circular, spiral. The spiral force and all the movements, everything, even the wrist go. When you get into more of the Yang style, it's a little more linear. So it has spiral in it, but it's more linear. Chen is more spiral, but still some linear. And then you get into different times. So it's more of an interest. So as far as a serious Tai Chi practitioner, one style is all you need. So you pick one that you're comfortable with. They'll all do pretty much the same thing. And all the research that they've done, medical research, they've used different styles, but the basics are the same. So it's just what you like.
That's why I was asking about the purpose of collecting different forms.
It's something to teach, but a lot of the movements are the same. They're just in different combinations, right? The horses may play the lute. All these different systems that you do, they're in all the different forms. I like Sun style. It's a little bit different because it's got that half step up. It's a little more combative. I like Chen because it's longer and it's fluid. I like Yang style because it's simple and a little more linear. And all the other forms are a mixture of that. I call it flow Qigong. There's no set pattern. Basically, the highest form of Tai Chi, in my opinion, is you start and you just let the Chi lead. The Chi leads the body. All these different postures just go in any direction. There's no set rules.
That's exactly why I am curious about the purposes of learning a variety of different forms. It doesn't matter what forms those are. The principles is what really matters. And so then
Yeah.
we go into exploration of principles, and sometimes they call those the Tai Chi maxims. I'm sure you're very familiar with those. Yeah, go ahead.
I developed a short form for myself, just for myself and my students. It's basic. It's kind of Chen Yang combination, and it's called the Peking form. I like it. So they like it. So it's simple, good place to start. Because once you get into Chen, it's a whole different ballgame. And even Sun, if you're not used to the half step that you go, it's Sun 72 that I do. So, yeah. Then you got the long form, then you got cannon fist. So I made a short cannon fist from short Qigong form and long Qigong form. And so you got a little bit of both, which I see cannon fist is, there's so many different routines I've seen in that over the years that I just do the one my teachers taught me. But
Okay.
then they kind of brought me to Qigong is, you know, people have a hard time sticking with Qigong. If you take a large number, there's a small percentage that will stick with Tai Chi for a long period of time. They get frustrated. I can't do this. You try to show them a spiral movement. I can't do that. And they get frustrated and they go on, they say they can't, and they quit.
Why they cannot do it is because the teacher kept a baby step. Teacher basically feels so confident in his ability to move in the way that
Yeah.
is beautiful and graceful. But for somebody who is not familiar with this culture movement, it's daunting to perform moves like this. And they need simpler, more actionable steps. Most teachers are not patient enough or don't know enough about adult learning styles. They assume people will pick it up or by watching them move. If those were children, often children learn from their parents or grandparents. Yeah, that was easy to just monkey see, monkey do. But adults need a more compartmentalized little baby steps. And that is exactly what's missing. And that's why so many people have a hard time being able to stick
Yeah.
with a practice or feel like they're failing because they just can't figure out how to move like this.
Well, good Tai Chi practitioners, you can tell because it looks so simple. The simpler it looks, the more that went behind it. So they see Tai Chi practice, the wrists are moving and they're doing all these lovely things. And they say, oh, I want to do that. And they can start comparing themselves. I can't get it. I can't get it. But that's not the reason. The other thing is that the consistency or persistency that they need, persistence, pardon me, is that to
Mhm.
learn one move. There's a master in Toronto who taught Chen, $150. So the commitment that's huge for the practitioner, but more importantly, the commitment in time. Okay, and they get frustrated. I'm not going to get this one until I get it. So it's over and over. Practice at home. Damn, I guess to a certain. Okay, $150. I teach you the next move. There's 108 moves. But eventually they'll get it. It might take them 4 years, but they'll get that far. You have to have an internal love for this. That's what keeps you going.
If a person does not benefit from the practice because they're stuck on that same stupid one move or one posture, and they feel frustrated that they're not getting it right, instead of benefit, they get frustration and disappointment.
Yep.
And that's exactly the recipe for quitting. Expecting people to come to study Tai Chi with the love in their heart for these arts is almost always going to be frustrated. Why in
Yeah,
hell would anyone love this if it's frustrating and disappointing?
that's right. How many people in the world actually do Tai Chi compared to the overall population? It's a very, very small point. But to keep on going, I didn't have the money. I drive every Friday morning to Toronto. I'd pay her right on the spot, and I'd drive home. Gas is expensive. It's an hour and a half drive every single Friday. And I might learn 2 or 3 moves. Now I'm going to come back and practice them. Because if I don't, I'm going to go the next week. I got to learn them all over again. So it's just constant. Plus, I'd practice in the school and in classes and so on. So I was kind of teaching as I was learning on some of the fan movements.
The best way to learn by
Yeah,
teaching.
exactly. Because the more you teach, the more you learn. But anyway, it developed, and one of the things that she taught me was this 24 posture Qigong. That was it. That's where it developed. Because I do both. So Qigong's on one side, and the Tai Chi's on
Because
the
you
other side.
mentioned previously that she developed a linked form,
Yes, that's her mother.
so that was Tai Chi, and also 24.
That's also the 24 form. The same one you see on the line, but others probably do. She was
No, I never
instrumental
pay
in
attention
creating.
to, sorry. But somebody comes up with a form, I'm like, yeah, good for you. The idea is that I'm trying to see why is it that she was coming up with this 24 Tai Chi form, 24 Qigong form. I don't even care if the 24 is some kind of a sacred number for her. It's the
No, it's not.
more question of uh, what's the purpose of creating new form? Was the old one that she learned from her grandfather not good enough?
Well, they're all good enough, but the forms that she learned were the old forms. Chan, Yang,
Yeah, yeah.
because Wang Ziping, her father, I'm talking about my teacher's mother, her father, her grandfather, knew all these people. He was a very well-known martial artist. He's very famous in China as a fighter, as a doctor, and as a practitioner. Anyway, his daughter, Madame Wang Zhurong, helped develop the 24 form. But she was the first female martial artist in the history of China. She earned recognized professional, I should say, because she was at the Shanghai University. She taught.
Of When Chung was a female, a nun, as far as I know. She was definitely a martial arts practitioner. Was she not recognized as the female martial artist way before?
She was an international judge. Anybody can look her up. She was a professor at Shanghai University where she taught the first master's class in Tai Chi. Helen taught there also, but she taught sports injuries. Before that, Wang Ziping had developed a system called 20 posture Qigong.
Mhm.
It was developed for treating disease and prolonging life.
Or what?
That
Treating
treating
disease,
disease and prolonging life. It was
prolonging life.
published.
That's the best kind because you can never tell if you're doing it well. Because if you're not doing it well, you're dead. So it didn't work.
Well, that's part of it, but it's more the difference in disease. Now they know scientifically that your biological age, if you practice Qigong or Tai Chi, is different than your chronological age. They measure that by telomeres. Telomeres at the end of a chromosome gene is it's like the end of a shoelace, plastic coated. Well,
Yeah.
when that starts to wear off, it all of a sudden starts to fray and shorten. That's your aging. Now, what they found with Qigong, and there's studies on this, it increases. So if it increases the telomeres, you're getting younger physically. A study just came out from Stanford University, which is a huge study, which found, and they said that it may be that exercises is the most profound medical intervention. So they do all these tests on the cells and on the tissue. They all change when you do exercise. I worked with Jubilee University, and one of my students, Dr. Joe Baumgarten, the doctor of physical therapy, he does research. We published some research. I don't know how these masters back, 1,000, 2,000, however many years ago, knew what they knew. Now it's just being proven, but they had no way to measure it. They just knew. And everything we talk about in Tai Chi and Qigong is theory. Everything relates to Qi. Well, Qi, from a scientific standpoint, doesn't exist. It's just a theory. The reason is they
Really?
can't measure it. If once they
That's
can
correct.
measure it, then it becomes fact. So we have to take it on faith that the Qi does this. And we find that many of us will go and say, Qi goes up this meridian this way and down this meridian this way. And oftentimes, most people or half the people don't agree and half do because there's no way to prove it.
There was no way to prove it, and Oriental medicine would not exist because the whole premise of Oriental medicine is that it is based on utilization of certain understanding of the principles of qi, how it can be cultivated, improved, or facilitated the flow of. And if we couldn't prove that it worked,
Well,
nobody would be going to acupuncturist because what's the point? You cannot prove
well,
that it worked. Just spending money for nothing.
back in the day, you paid the doctor to keep you healthy. If you
Uh,
got sick, he didn't get paid.
yeah. In other words, there is if you're healthy, it's a proof that something you've done actually worked. If you were what you were doing was working with chi,
Yeah.
then the proof of that particular type of chi practice had a positive effect.
Well, it is China, India, it was prana. In the indigenous cultures, they all had the herbs and chants and the energy stuff, all based on energy. But when modern medicine came in and took over, they kicked out most of the naturopaths and so on. Now Chinese medicine's coming back in. And in Beijing, if you go to Beijing, they have a huge hospital, is Western medicine. Half of it is traditional Chinese medicine, where they make the herbs and so on. So people have a choice. But it's got to be pragmatic. So if you take the difference between the two, if I do this Qigong, all right, I'm going to do it. If I feel better, I'll keep on it. If I don't, I'm done. Make sense? Good. I bring people in the studio when you do in Tai Chi, I feel better. It's good.
You may be able to measure how better you feel. You may have certain milestones in terms of improvement, or you may have certain parameters that you keep testing for. So, in other words, it's not rocket science. You can quite easily assess how well something works or doesn't work, and then the proof is in the pudding.
Exactly. But you can't tell somebody you're feeling better unless they feel better. So they go, geez, the first time I feel calm. I had a good night's sleep after class. I want to do more. They have a sense of well-being, a sense that something happened. And that'll go on as long as they continue to get better, they'll stay. On the other side of the coin, you have Western medicine where it says, I've got this pain, take this pill. When do I stop? You don't. You always have to take this pill. So I'm not getting better. Here I'm feeling better. Here I'm not. So they have to make a choice. But once they have this program, I call it, that you're going to continue to do this. Einstein's theory is trying to change things by doing the same thing over and over again is insanity.
You're going to get the same result,
Yeah.
results from doing the same thing.
So if you go 10, 15 years on the same medication for the same thing and you're not getting better, you got to take more. Yeah, I like what we do. And the other thing is that people, generally speaking, if they don't want to do the Qigong, they don't think they can heal with the Qigong and or Tai Chi, and they don't have any understanding of how that works.
Why they don't have understanding is because the teachers and the masters often don't explain how it works, or their explanations don't make any sense. They don't connect the dots between the cause and effect very well. And so, of course, then people won't have the understanding because nobody is giving them that kind of knowledge. And if they don't have understanding, how can we expect that they would be excited to study?
Well, I like that now. Gee, I want the research because there's two sides of the coin here. There's the Western mindset. I prove it to me. And
Yes.
if you tell somebody, oh, just this chi, they're going to think you're nuts. Never heard of it. What, you telling me this magical stuff is going to make me feel better when my doctor can't? So that's the kind of mindset, and it's changing. Oh, I got sore cartilage. Well, I can help you fix that. How do you do that? This is how cartilage works. Slow compression and decompression. Slow compression takes out waste, squeezes it out. And as you decompress, it sucks in nutrition. All cartilage needs and it produces weight or waste, and it also has to have nutrition. Well, that's a physical thing. Let me show you the stretch here. You feel that? That's how that works. And that kind of makes sense. It's
Compression and stretching are two opposing moves. When you said stretch here and then relax, it's not the same as contract and relax.
if you're doing knee circles, for example, it's the same thing. As you expand, any pressure I put on here is going to compress the cartilage. And same thing in knees, all the cartilage, all the articular surfaces in the bottom. If I'm on my feet and I bend my knees, my feet are going to compress.
Your feet are going to compress.
The joints, the weight. As you go
Your
down,
weight is not going to change. You're going to weigh the same thing whether your knees are bent or straight.
if I'm standing straight, the pressure on the feet is less. When I bend my knees and go down, if you bend your knees and squat, you don't feel the difference in the feet.
Maybe because when you're squatting, you're misaligning your weight distribution, so it's no longer on the centers of the feet. If you're standing and your centers of the feet receiving most of the pressure of the body, that means the legs are in alignment and your muscles don't have to work hard, they can relax. A lot of people, because they have tight calves, when they squat, they cannot maintain the distribution of weight equal between the toes and the heels, shifting weight towards the toes, and then the tightness of the fascia and the Achilles tendon will feel like, wow, there is more work to be done. The weight didn't change. The mass of your body didn't change.
As we're coming up, we squeeze, we grip the floor with our toes. And when that happens, the muscles in the back of the leg tighten right up.
Yes.
So when you're coming up, then you relax and you go down. When you squeeze, you can feel the back of your thigh and all the muscles will actually tighten.
It's actually the calves, the back of the lower legs, fascia lines.
Maybe it's the fascia that does that. But I can tell you, there's a distinct difference between squeezing your toes from that point. As soon as you squeeze, that tightens right up.
And what's the purpose?
When you stretch to relax the muscle, how do you relax the muscle?
My way of relaxing the muscle, if I need to relax the muscle, is to shorten it. When I shorten the muscle, I help the muscle achieve the dream that it had. Why is muscle tense? That's because it's trying to bring the two ends of the muscle closer together. And it hasn't been able to, otherwise it would have achieved this dream and it would have relaxed. They actually help the muscle achieve exactly that which it's trying to achieve, bringing the two ends of the muscle closer together. Will communicate to central nervous system, mission success. I've been trying to bring the two ends of the muscle closer together and I have been having a hard time until now somebody came along and helped me out. So central nervous system will take a little bit of time, maybe a minute or two or three, but eventually we'll stop sending so many signals of contraction to that muscle, and that's when it starts relaxing because it doesn't receive signals of contraction. There are no signals of relaxation the central nervous system can send, only more signals of contraction of fewer.
You're right.
Okay.
I use the term when your muscles are tight, when you tighten your muscles. I'm talking about just the muscles tightening and relaxing. That's what happens when we're doing the Qigong, and in some cases the Tai Chi. Because as soon as you tighten those muscles and you hold it, if I hold this for 4 seconds, 5 seconds, and relax, I do that 4 or 5 times, and every posture all the way down from the top of the head to the end of the big toe. And every time I do it, something's tightening and it's relaxing. I'm relaxing all the muscles in the body. So when they finish the class, they say, "Oh God, I feel so good. I feel so relaxed." So something happened to the muscle. So that's the whole point. Now, again, I should have brought my dictionary and used some of the words that would more stretching and contracting.
Know that you wrote a book composed of quotations. Some of them are your own quotations. I wonder if you could give us a little bit of reading of what are your favorite quotations from that book and what is it that our viewers and listeners would be able to benefit most from?
Well, they can benefit from all of them, but it depends on what's your state of mind when you're looking at it. Because you can look at one quote from many different ways. My health is bad. I'm looking for something to help me. I can look at it in one way. I could say the same quote if I'm looking from a business or from struggling mentally with it. They all come up, they'll suit their own meanings. And that's the nice thing about a quote. So if I say, for example, a simple one, if you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. Belief is stronger. So if I'm suffering from a health issue and I take that quote and I want to get better, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right.
Yeah.
My business is failing. I don't know what I can do. Well, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right. Oh, so you shouldn't believe I failed. See, you can take them wherever you are, and then throughout life that will change for different things.
What would be the quotes that you would like to share with us today?
Don't look for the information from the outside. You are the source. Caught me on the spot.
You're the author. So
I,
in your book,
I put
probably
these together. I've got them over. I didn't memorize every single one, but I have a few ones.
maybe you can share some of your own quotes.
If you have whatever you want, the dream, inspiration creates it. Persistent consistency builds it. Persistence completes it. You got 4 things that you need in order to create a dream. Doesn't matter whether it's Qigong or anything else, health, healing, business. First, inspiration. I'd like to do this. Second, motivation. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get started. Third, consistency. Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to stop. Fourth, persistence. It's done. Miss one of those things, and you can take that formula, use it for anything.
Quote, a goal without a plan of action is a
Action is a
hallucination.
hallucination. Right.
What did
Well,
you
it
mean by
is.
that?
Well, you set a goal. I got this, and
Next year?
I
Well,
know.
that's the deadline.
So,
Next year.
yeah, but if you don't do anything, you're not going to hit it. It's a hallucination. To think that you're going to achieve a goal without doing anything. So a goal without a plan is just a hallucination. I've got this goal. I want to make $100,000. I haven't got a clue how I'm going to do it. So I need a plan. If I don't have a plan, it's just a hallucination.
Well, that's what a lot of people who are into manifesting and things like that often say, well, you need to have a vision board. And so people get all excited about creating vision boards and visualizing themselves achieving things that they wanted to achieve. But of course, often their expectations are frustrated because they don't really manifest that by just simply putting stuff on a vision board, do they?
Well, they just have a vision board and they look at that vision board every day, but they don't have a plan. How are you going to get from A to B? Well, I don't know. How are you going to
Yeah.
travel that distance? What do you think? So that's the basic thing. So when people understand, yeah, I've got this goal. What's your plan? Well, I don't have it. It's hallucination. Common sense.
It's a wish, it's a dream. Is there any difference between that and hallucination?
Wishful thinking is just wishful thinking. You still don't have a plan. I can sit and wishful think for all my life. Nothing
Right.
happens. A man goes hungry, standing on the street corner, waiting for a roasted duck to fly in his mouth.
Reminds me
You
of
know,
those bears in Alaska where they just wander into the stream, open their mouths, and wait for salmon to jump into their mouths. I've seen pictures actually
unfortunately,
of bears doing exactly that.
yeah, too bad we weren't one of those. But we live in a different thing. We actually have to think. And that's the biggest issue I find with a lot of things.
Yeah.
People are so programmed that they're running on just a program where they don't go anywhere. They get up, they go to work, they come home, have dinner, sit down, watch TV, go to bed. And nothing really changed. And they're not aware. So one of the things I like to do in my practice is what's a lifetime of a moment? The beginning of a moment is when you inhale. When you end of a moment is when you exhale. Same thing when we live or die. We're born, we inhale on first, exhale on the exit as we exit this plane. So if you take a moment, it can be that quick. When you do that breath, what are you aware of? You're not thinking. What are you aware of in that moment? Because that's an actual moment. One of my other favorite quotes is Ichigo Ichie in Japanese, which means every time is the first time. Every time is the only time. Know the eternal moment. And that's a cultural thing in Japan. In fact, I had the Shodo done the calligraphy on that. But the whole point is, if you take that, there starts a moment, there ends a moment. What's in between? So if it's just a breath, what you aware of? So when you're in this moment, when you're in this space, can you be aware or feel, I can hear the clock ticking. I can hear the fan going. I can hear my heartbeat. I can feel that energy moving up through my body and all these things at the same time. And that is
Yeah.
one moment. So we just breathe in, we breathe out, and sometimes we try to not think. As soon as we think, it takes us out of the dance, so to speak.
That is the way the Zen koans work. They are not solved by thinking, they're solved by experiencing.
Exactly. But it's more of a feeling thing than a thinking thing. What are they experiencing? Are they experiencing through awareness? Are they experiencing through the five senses? Are they experiencing through what they feel?
Actually, at least six senses because we have more senses than five, right?
Generally speaking, they forget the first five and go to the sixth sense, seventh, eighth sense. It all gets down to feeling. In that moment, everything disappears. It's like Schroeder's cat. If I close my eyes, does all this still exist? Wait a minute,
By
open my eyes, it exists. But when my eyes are closed, does it exist? It's what you're feeling in there. Eyes closed, you're anywhere, you're everywhere.
well, if you walk around with your eyes closed, you will find out whether it exists or not.
Yeah, that's true. Physically, yeah, that'll happen. Or you'll fall down the stairs.
Okay, so in other words, we are going into conceptualization and some sort of abstraction instead of actually embodiment. Well, can we get back to embodiment? Can we maybe explore some of your practices that you would like our viewers and listeners to find out more about?
But the main one is that was developed for treating disease and prolonging life. That, generally speaking, is the best I've seen. Now, all Qigong is good, but all Qigong is not equal. There's 6,000 different styles. They do different things. I mean, how many five-element Qigongs are there? There are many. So, which is the best that I looked at for the general public, especially the people of my age? They come in, they've got back pain, hip issues, thigh issues, feet issues, this illness, they got that illness, bad backs, they got a hip replacement. So it's not the young athlete that comes in, even though this benefits. They come in and all of a sudden they're starting to feel better. And all the joints, they're very flexible because we work every single joint in the body. We work the fascia from the bottom to the top. The circulation system, all the nervous system, it goes from the parasympathetic from the sympathetic. So now stress is reduction. So what happens? When that happens, the immune system goes up, stress goes down, and all of a sudden cortisol is reduced. Now, cortisol, as you probably know, is a really bad hormone. So that's reduced. Chemicals change in the brain by doing it. And all of a sudden you feel a sense of relaxation. And then you've got, like I said, all the fascia, all the organs are working together the way the exercises are working. You know, you get the Sanjiao working. You get all the 12 meridians working. So when you take the energy aspect of the body, it increases circulation. By the way, if you nose breathe, you increase your oxygen content in the blood by 18%. In addition to that, it creates nitric oxide in the sinuses, which is an antiviral. So all the diseases viruses and bacteria that we get in from the nose and sinuses, nitric oxide knocks it out.
Plus, also for men, it's nice to have nitric oxide because it facilitates erection. If
Uh-huh.
you don't have it, then you
But
can get.
it's produced in the body also. So this is just produced from nose breathing. So 20% of all the oxygen you breathe in goes to the brain. The rest goes to the body. If you're breathing shallow up here, the brain gets 20%. That's that much. So now we have issues. If you take slow, deep abdominal breathing, not only is it working the gut for digestion, the diaphragm is moving down, but in addition to that, you're getting 20% of a full lung of air. So it's simple. And there's so much just on oxygen, it's in and of itself. I mean, 18% more in the bloodstream, huge. When you put all the breathing together, when you put all the movements of each joint, top to bottom, plus the tightening and relaxation of the muscles. It's the same thing. If you stand in a door frame and you put your arms against the door frame and you push it 3 times, then you step out and all your arms go like this. We had fun as kids doing that. That's by fatiguing that muscle and relaxing. It's so light that anybody can do it just by pushing this way.
What I did try is carrying backpacks. You carry heavy backpack
Yeah.
for an hour or two, and then you put it down, and all of a sudden you feel like floating.
Yeah.
Every step that you're taking
Yeah.
off and flying.
I'm sure I better not jump. I might not come back down. Yeah, it's the same thing. That's what I mean by the muscles. So, you know, I didn't use more scientific terms or anatomy terms, because my students aren't involved in that. And I start talking like tighten the muscles, I can feel that. I know that. So that's generally how I talk. Now, Dr. Pinelli Klein, she was a professor emeritus, students of mine. Dr. Klein had stage 4 cancer. It was a rare form. She was given 6 weeks to 6 months to live, and they wouldn't treat her. Says there's no point. Get your life in order, live out the life the best you can. 24 years later, she's still alive. 6 months after that, she said it was just pronounced no evidence of disease. Cancer's gone. I've been working with cancer people for 20 years. Is that for everybody? No, but she had the intention and the desire. So this was much behind what she did. I got a person who's hunchback. And it's interesting because I did a film of him. He comes to me, his back's like this. Broke my back a few years ago, and he's walking like this. He's my age. And I keep telling him about this because he was a friend. He said, no. Then all of a sudden, they thought he had cancer. Get on the phone. Could you come up? I want to learn this. Out of fear. All right. I said, friend. So I go see him. I said, okay. Before we go, let me take a picture. Face that way. I took a picture of him. He's like this. When we were done 2 hours later, I said, turn that way. I want to take a picture of her. He was like this. It was crazy. But we had to relax the back muscles and stretch them so that actually the back will start to straighten out.
Hunched over forward, then no, it's not the back muscles that needed to be stretched. The back muscles actually needed to contract to bring the torso into alignment. So the muscles of the front needed to let go of tension.
Okay. Yes, contract. We're back to
Letting go of tension is releasing tension, it's relaxing. The front muscles were causing the being hunched over, kyphosis. The release of tension in the front muscles straightens the body. The back muscles actually shorten as a result of that, not stretch.
You're right. I didn't use the technical concept. But anyway, yeah. All right. I'll change my leg. You do like this and you stretch. We work the top to the bottom for 2 hours. And the difference, and then a couple of months later, I go back and I talk to her, how you doing? Oh, I can't believe this. I can, no pain in my feet. I got hammer toe. Now I can drive home. And everybody's saying, how you doing that? I'm work boots on concrete all day long in a warehouse. And he's going on, and I got this, and no more pain. And I'm straight, and I don't know how it works. It's just crazy. It just works. Yeah. A couple months after that, he quit. Guess what he looks like today?
Why is that?
Because he stopped doing it. He just stopped. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't have cancer. I'm not going to do it anymore. That was his main concern.
That is a very interesting observation you just made. So the person has to do it over and over again. It's kind of like you were talking about the medications. You have to take the medications for the rest of your life. You didn't seem too excited about the fact that people were told they need to take the medications for the rest of their lives. Why do they need to do this for the rest of their lives? Can't they just sort it out and they don't have to keep practicing, keep doing things to maintain themselves in an upright position to just stop being crooked?
It's like any exercise. It's like doing Tai Chi. Well, why bother doing Tai Chi if I can just sit here and do nothing? You have to do something. The body's designed to move. It has to move. It's got to do things in a certain way that actually produce results. If I just sit here, what can I expect from my health if the body has to move? So they say, do you have to do this the rest of your life? Well, do you have to walk? Do you have to get up? Do you have to move? You're just going to stay in bed all day long. It's kind of obvious. People don't really care about their health until they get sick. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So all of a sudden, you can't look after yourself after you're dead. So here's the proof. And even if you don't want the proof, let's just be pragmatic. If you do this for 30 days and you have all these wonderful results, would you want to keep doing it? Because they do it and then they stop doing it and they go back and they're just as bad as they were before after a short period of time.
That's exactly why I don't teach forms. Instead, I teach harmonious culture movement. The culture movement is how you move every step you take on earth. You are the way you move. And if you develop a harmonious culture movement, you live in a harmonious way of life. Instead of teaching people forms, I teach people how to move throughout the day so that they would do the maintenance by engaging in whatever movements they make. they don't have to do the regimen of exercises or certain forms when they can actually just going for a walk in the park or just move around the apartment or house. The maintenance is baked into the lifestyle.
I agree. But there's different ways to do that. And what the system, this one system, by Wang Ziping, it increases or betters their posture. It immediately starts improving their balance. So
Yeah.
everything is flexible again. So seniors, for example, have to go in, they'll go to reach for something and they don't have the flexibility, they have to lean. Puts the body in danger. Once you can stretch and there's no pain in your hands, no pain in your hip, and you're standing better and walking better, your balance is good. By working with all these joints and muscles, it changes your proprioception, it changes your balance completely, and life is just better. So
It changes the proprioception. That's the sixth sense.
I've done videos with one of my students, with Professor Klein, and I've done it with Dr. Baumgart. He's a doctor of physical therapy. So we do videos. He does all the technical words. I'm just a simple guy that wants to help people. If I can say, tight, do this, feel your muscles tight, that's what we wanted to do. Then it gets to the point. If I'm teaching, if I was going out and speaking, which I've done, I change the vocabulary for what I'm going to do because it's very specific. So, but yeah, movement. If that's the case, Tai Chi is very effective. It's movement, but it's specific in a routine. But the body's moving and you're shifting your weight, which is all good. And it doesn't matter what form of Tai Chi, and people get the results. I mean, that's just the facts. People do Tai Qigong, they get the results. The only difference may be 1 degree. So movement is movement. And if what you're doing sounds fantastic, moving, teaching people how to move that way.
Would you teach us anything that would be beneficial to us beginners?
Well, yeah, breathe. Nose breathe. Tongue in the roof of the mouth. Connect the consumption vessel with the governing vessel. Sit straight. So here's basic advice. Stand like a pine. Sleep like a bow. Sit like a clock. And walk like the wind. It's old Chinese medicine. When you sleep like a bow on your side, you stand straight. And you sit like a clock when you walk briskly. Then you're doing the breathing all the time. I do organ Qigong, which I don't think you'll find in North America. It's just for the organs in the Sanjiao. It takes about 12 minutes. It's a system of breathing and moving the oxygen and the air and the muscles from up and down. Then there's 9 posture Chen Qigong, which is really proprioception. You develop that and balance, and it's very fluid.
How do you do it?
Well, there's 9 postures, Chen postures that you do. That covers everything. There's some are very difficult. I mean, you have to do a single whip out of Chen, both sides. It's a little
Right. So that's what I was wondering, if you could teach us something relatively easy and assuming, so that we would be able to take something away.
Let's go with one of my favorite ones. All right. And this is the one we did earlier. So shoulder width apart, just a little bit wider here. Cross your hands at the wrists. Down. Now, squeeze your toes up, breathing in. Look up. Hold. Release. Let your shoulders fall to one hand. And down. Feel all the muscles that are tight. And out. There you go.
What is the purpose of this exercise or technique?
Tightening of the muscles and relaxing. So you can feel the stretch that you're doing. You can feel the fascia stretching. You're opening up the lymphatic system and down. So that's just one. So you put 24 together. The first half is the top 8, the second half is the middle 8, and the last are for the lower part of the body, where you're riding a horse, doing the knees, taming the tiger. These are nice names. Swordsmith turns to stoke the fire. That's a difficult one.
I'm impressed by the practice. So that
Of course.
practice you just showed seems like a really simple, elegant practice where the movements of the arms and torso are synchronized with breathing. Maybe breathing synchronizes with movements. I usually synchronize movements with breathing because breathing is primary.
Always, yeah.
Is there any particular focus of your attention or intention, or what are you noticing when you're practicing?
Internal. internal. Then you get into smaller parts. The eyes move in different directions. So you're working the eyes at the same time. What helps with the eyesight, not only improving, but maintaining good eyesight. That's just automatic within. There's one where I stand, turn my chin forward, I turn slowly. I can feel the neck muscles tighten. My eyes are looking that way. I'm doing this, and then all 8 directions. You're working that muscle.
Okay.
And it starts to just different muscles up here and then down lower. It's what it gets down is, does it work or not? Do you feel better? Don't you feel better? That's all that counts in the end. So
What I'm particularly curious about, is this universally helpful for everyone, or is this something that would work better for one person, maybe not so great for another person?
everybody, Wang Ziping, not only he was a doctor of Chinese medicine. He never lost a fight. He was known as a 1,000-pound man because he lifted that in one case. He's a traumatologist because of his martial arts and fighting experience, and bone setter. He consulted many hospitals in Shanghai, right? He's a very famous doctor. Martial artist. He combines his knowledge of martial arts, of wushu, and some of the postures. So some of these postures are wushu, are based in wushu, as traditional Qigong, all with the breathing. So you started originally 20 postures, and it just starts here and moves all the way down. So you have to work every joint. You don't just work one arm, you work 2. Now, if one is a little stiff, it works like this, the other one's going to work like this, obviously. But you have to move the fascia, all the fascia. Now, they found that if you got pain in your back, it may be from fascia that's up here, that's too dry or tight. And it's pushing all the way down. So this loosens the fascia in the entire body.
What's the
Plus,
cause
you
of the dryness of the fascia?
couldn't tell you.
If you don't know the root cause, then trying to just cover it up, it would be dealing with the symptoms rather than the root cause of the issue.
Whatever the root cause is gone. By the time you clean this up, everything else goes away. Eventually, some part.
Uh, so let me ask you this. If you do this, does the fascia become dry again the following day or next week or next month?
No. If that's the case, when somebody comes in, there's no more pain when they walk out.
Hmm?
That happens quite often.
Does the pain come back like that friend of yours who got hunched over again?
Well, if they go back, when the cause of the original issue is going to be the same cause.
So if you don't
Right.
know the cause and you don't attend to that cause, then you basically are not dealing with the root cause. Of course, it's going to come back because the root cause is still there. So
Exactly.
essentially, then you're just simply covering up the symptoms. If you
Unless,
understand the root cause and you attend to it, then you actually take care of it. Therefore, it will not be causing the backsliding anymore.
well, that's right. Once you make the change inside the body, when you're doing the Qigong on a regular basis, these things will tend to change. When a fella had broke his back, he's like this. Now his muscles are stronger, that he's got better support and so on. He sits down again, driving in a car. Now you got to retire. I'm not responsible for everybody's health, and neither are you. They're responsible for their own. I just show the way. That was one of my wisdoms. That's all we can do. I can't make you do it, and I can't do it for you.
Just like taking a horse to the water, you cannot make it drink, right?
Exactly. But being pragmatic is like what you're saying. I don't care, but the names don't impress me. I agree. Just do this. I'll show you how. And you can't do it wrong. You can only do it better.
Well, the question is, if this is something that is therapeutic, then it would stand to reason that not everyone has the same conditions. Therefore, if the one thing can help that person, the same thing doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be helpful to others. So depending on the conditions, they would need to address it differently.
No,
No?
you have to address the whole. There's the problem somewhere in here. Something's not working properly. Everything's connected to everything else. And this one thing here is affecting everything.
So it's like a black box. It's some kind of mystery. There is some problem. We're going to fix it somehow.
And doctors can't fix it because they don't treat the body as a whole. So if something is up here, if I stub my toe, where do you think that energy goes? It's going to go all the way up. It may settle in my spine. Now I got a back problem because I stubbed my toe, or I fell. So your sacroiliac joint on the bottom of the spine, if that's out, you got problems.
Yep.
One problem will lead to the next. It's a cascading effect. So I'm going to treat my entire body. If I want to get to a knee problem, I got to start here and put all this back in position. So if I've got a knee problem, I got a hip problem. If I got a hip problem, I got a back problem. If I got a back problem, I got a shoulder problem. So why am I going to work in my
And the neck
knee?
problem.
And that's the way this was designed. So you start here, you work the entire body, put the whole body in a state of homeostasis, and that kind of works out particularly on the joints, but also in bowel issues. I got a student on had celiac disease, and now she's eating grains and all kinds of stuff.
Hmm.
It took a couple of years. When you're doing these exercises, this is impacting the bowel somehow because everything's connected. Constipation, gone. We've had one of my students is a professor in Kingston, Ontario. She had chronic constipation since she was 5. She's 66 now. She would drink milk of magnesia for breakfast. That's how bad it was. Hospitalized a couple of times for surgery. Started doing the Qigong, hasn't had it since. And this, now we're going back 8 years.
Hmm.
She has severe arthritis. I mean, it's rheumatoid arthritis. The joints are swollen, so on. She says recently, my toes are starting to open. They've been doing this for a few months and getting better and better. And look, I can bring my arms up this high when before it was this high.
So it sounds like she is suffering from less inflammation, which arthritis, especially if it's rheumatoid arthritis, of course, it's a chronic inflammation, it's an autoimmune disorder. And it sounds like the constipation that she was having most likely also was an inflammatory process in her gut, which was making the gut malfunctioning or constipated. Whatever you did, perhaps there was an effect on her immune system, which positively affected both the joints as well as the gut because there was less inflammation throughout the whole body.
Yeah, but the big thing, I didn't do anything. I just
Well,
showed the way. And then she came down. I've got pictures of her, and she's talking on here. Very smart, very pleasant lady. And I've had no pain since I've been doing this. That's huge. And
yeah,
most people can't understand that if my joints and my body and my ribs and everything's disformed, I've got all this pain. You can't understand it. You have to feel it before you understand it.
she
Sorry.
said that once she started doing this, the pain was gone. So by this, you mean what? That exercise you showed us?
No, all of them. You can pick one out and it's going to help in some part of the body. But the whole point is you have to work the entire body. You have to work all the
Mhm.
organs. Diaphragmatic breathing alone that is working the gut. There's postures where you're going to feel the gut tighten right here, then the other side, and the other side. Not only you're rotating the spine very gently, but you're also working the gut issue itself. So you have this where it's actually visceral massage. And
Yeah.
all this is working at the same time. You put all these things together, there's not a part of the body that it missed, putting it back together. We did a study, we published a case study, and 2 of my students had serious back issues. A few months gone, back to work, no more pain. One was reduced by 90%, one guy, one gal, and it was verified and they were interviewed. So it doesn't matter what I say. People can think I'm crazy or you're crazy because of what you're doing, and all other practitioners are crazy. So have you done it? You can tell me how wonderful it is. And it sounds wonderful from my experience. But until I do it, I have no idea. That's where the pragmatism comes in. Do it and then talk to me. You come in, will it help you? Yeah, it'll help you, but not if you don't do it. So come in and do it. If you don't, well, what can I tell you? I can't
What's
help
the
you.
best way for us to learn more about your teaching so that we would be able to benefit more from what you teach?
Tuesday and Thursday night, I do a class, and it's always been on a 24 posture. So the last week I taught Tibetan Qigong standing, and they liked it so much I did it the next night because they're trying to work things in addition to a lot of energy cultivation. Ling Kong Jing, I like to do that a lot. And then there's balance challenges I do with them as a warm up. It's the same, but it's different.
Okay.
After 4.5 years, and some of these people have been here the whole time.
So we can just join your class at any point. Is it like an open enrollment or do you have
So
certain?
we go by the month. So it's $10 a class. Have you ever heard of such a thing? What we do is we do the class, they get the video the next day. So
Okay.
now they got another day they can do it. Then they do another class on Thursday to get the video. So they got it for 2 videos for an entire week. And then the next week, the video. And at the end of the month, videos are gone. We start a whole new set of videos.
Do you compile those videos into online courses?
Well, that's in the plans because I got 4.5 years online classes, 5 a week. Because I
Uh-huh.
do Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning. It's more internal here. I've got a couple of students come in, but we video it. And some people like it. It's a little more casual. But yeah, it's funny because each week's got the videos. Here's the wisdom for this week or for this class. I started that back when I was 15, collecting these things. There's one in particular that I never forgot. Two of them actually that are in there. I learned when I was 15. My father actually did a book like that. He died in 93. My brother had this and he gave it to me. I said, you got to be kidding me. I used some of the quotes out of his little book. Anyway, that's how the classes work. And then I've got videos and programs online like you do. I got the 24 posture. Here's the videos, 27 videos, 24 postures. We got certification courses in 3 levels. So it's pretty significant. And a lot of
So,
stuff. We got a mini medical school in there and all kinds of speakers. It's not just me.
you said certification courses. Okay,
Certification, yes.
certified in what?
In 24 posture Qigong.
Okay, so basically the 3 levels of certification in the same 24.
The
Huh.
first one is now you're certified to teach under the auspices of the Village of Healing and Wellness, which is the core. We keep in touch. You come in every 3 months and we keep them up to date. They can go out and teach to anybody. Now we've got people teaching in cancer centers and hospitals, Alzheimer's societies, which I do as well. So they can go out and do this. And then level 2 gives you the right to certify a level 1. So it's a whole different level of learning. Now you get into mini medical school and a lot of serious stuff with the proper terminology. You like that. Level 3 is the higher, level 4 is the highest you can get. And these are people who certify all the different levels and they run their own little organization within the organization.
So, oh, it's
Yes.
like multi-level marketing.
I'll give you a real quick basic outline. The energy goes from the perineum up. So, back here. So, my feet, put the ankles together, bend the knees. Now stand straight up and tuck the buttocks up like this. You want to keep the energy from moving down. You want to keep it in this area. And then the thing is breathing. So, I'll show you part 1. I breathe in and push, hold, breathe out, push down, hold. So, you breathe in the count of 4 or 3 or 4, hold, and then out and 4 and hold. Then the second one, you're moving
How many
energy
times
up and down.
do you have a particular number of times, or just do this for a few minutes?
There's 21 sets of this. This is really quite phenomenal. But breathing in and out. Then the second set is like this. I breathe in, pull it in up, push down, holding my breath, exhaling. So each time moving the air up and down like this. You're bringing it to the lungs. So at the final end, getting rid of the toxins, you open your feet and 21 times or 20 times.
20,
Then you,
not 20.
yeah, just getting the toxins out of the lungs. Because most of your toxins at
Rapid
the bottom,
exhalation.
most of the toxins in the blood are down at the bottom of the lungs. You got to get it up. You disturb them with this breathing, and then you get rid of them. And then you go to the hands, and then you go to the feet, tapping down. Then you shake your ankles because you're driving most of the toxins that come in the bloodstream towards the hands and towards the feet, and release them.
Yeah.
The only thing we can prove is I feel better, and you feel better, and all your students feel better.
This is for the organs that get massaged.
Yeah.
Obviously, moving diaphragm up and down more
Well,
vigorous.
you get the visceral massage up
Yes.
and down, but you get the respiratory also. Just in the breathing itself, bring it up, down, up, down. I do it usually twice a week. I usually do it before class on Tuesday and Thursday and keep you healthy. So it's a 24 posture that we do. And then every now and again, I do these other little postures. And I'll have a workshop every now and again. Otherwise, it's like, you must have run across this. People come in, oh, I love this. Oh, over here, here's a new one. It's like, oh, geez. It's like, really? It's like the next shiny thing. You're old school. I'm old school. This is what
That's
works. Why
why
would you change it?
I think about people coming up with all this new styles of Qigong or new
Oh,
forms.
yoga cheat. I mean, I can turn around and what I do is 24 postures. It's Chinese yoga.
Huh?
That wouldn't be far from the truth. We just don't get down on the floor. We're standing.
There is Dao Yen, which does get down on the floor.
It's just crazy out there. I'm assuming we only met once before today, but I like to think old school. My teacher, man, I do this every time I see her, and I usually do it in class. She's from that old school, and that's what I want to do. I don't want to go and do the next shiny thing. If people want to get better, come and see me. I'm telling you, you're going to get better. The only difference is 1 degree, and that's as much your choice.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing a lot of great ideas, wisdom, techniques, and some quotes. So, where can we find the book of quotes, by the way?
Well, if anybody wanted to order it, they could send an email to george@georgepicard.com. If you want more information on any of the courses that we have or whatever, you can go to georgepicard.com, which is the Village of Healing and Wellness. Just have a search. Go to learn more, and you'll see some of the research that we published. If you
So,
want to come onto a class,
georgepicard.com is your website. That's where we also sign up for the class.
good. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure. I'm going to have to brush up on my technical terms.